Good morning, Reno. My name is Matt Basil. I'm the Urban Forester with the City of Reno. This year, Arbor Day is Friday, April 24th. Reno has been a Tree City USA for 38 years now, so we're happy to continue that tradition. Although we're not able to have an Arbor Day celebration in a big group this year, we're going to go ahead and do a virtual tree tour for you guys to enjoy at home. If you would like to come out and check out some of our interesting trees, please just make sure to adhere to social distancing standards. Today, my friend Rod Hollenbeek is joining me. He's known as the tree hunter, and Rod has a lot of historical knowledge of Idlewild Park and a lot of our interesting trees. So let's go take a look at some of our favorite trees. All right, here's Rod with one of our giant sequoias.
Hello, I'm Rod the tree hunter, as Matt said. This tree right here is a giant sequoia that was planted in, believe it or not, 1987. It was 3 feet tall when they planted it. So that's 33 years ago. And this tree is now about 50 feet tall. It's about 40 feet wide, and it's 4.5 feet in diameter at the base. What that means is that if you want to plant this tree, this is not a good tree if you live in a residential lot. But this was a 1987 tree. This is our first tree that we're going to look at. And even those giant sequoias are native to the Sierra, they actually grow really well here, as you can see from this tree. This tree was nominated around 2015 to be a state champion tree. This is called a sycamore tree. It's not a London plane tree like there's so many London plane trees in town, but this is an American sycamore, which is sort of a parent of the hybrid London plane tree. And the interesting thing to this tree is the bark. If you look at the bark, it's got wonderful bark on it. It's kind of squared off bark. Also, if you look down here, so this is the fruit. There's one ball at a time. And if you were to crush this tree, you would see that this has hundreds of seeds. Now, however, there's not hundreds of trees. What is the deal? These seeds basically are not viable. They have to be very, very lucky, very fortunate to sprout. And it's a good thing, otherwise we would be overgrown. So across the lake is my favorite tree in the park, which is really saying something. It's a Cedar of Lebanon, which is the only tree that is on a flag of a country. And it's for the flag of Lebanon. And this tree is my favorite tree because it's so beautiful. It's about 5 feet in diameter. And it's, once again, it's a conifer, and it typically has a flat top, as you can see. We are very proud of City of Reno state champion trees. It is a state champion tree. We're very proud. We have 18 in this park, and we have about 30 in other parks and on street trees in the city. And we are very happy to be involved in the Big Tree program, which has 304 trees. And about at least half of them are in the Reno, Sparks, Carson City area. This is a 1995 Arbor Day tree. There's a plaque underneath it. And it's a 5-needle pine cone. Or, sorry, 5-needle pine. And it has a very slow growth rate. However, this plant, it's been in there for 25 years. This is possibly the best looking one in town. Now, it was planted as one of the 2 state trees. At that time, in 1995, the bristlecone pine and single-leaf pinyon pine were the 2 state trees. However, the taxonomists decided that this is actually a different species than the one that you see, for example, in Great Basin National Park and in the White Mountains of California. It's a different species. This one is native to the Rocky Mountains. The other tree does not do well in Reno, but this one does quite well in Reno, as you can see. So this tree in 1996 Arbor Day planting, it's a swamp white oak, and it's native to the eastern half of the United States. But once again, like many of the trees in this park, it grows well here. And so it's 25 years old approximately, and quite a handsome looking tree. It's about to come out. It will have nice fall colors. So this tree is called common hackberry. Back in the 90s, our previous urban forester, realizing that Reno was going to have a water shortage at some point or other, decided to plant a bunch of drought-tolerant trees. This one is from the Midwest U.S. and it's called common hackberry, as I said. And it's highly drought-tolerant, and so it doesn't need as much water. One of the interesting things about this tree is the bark. So come on in and take another look at the bark. And it's what I call warty bark. It's sort of a funny looking bark, and that's how you can tell hackberry trees. So this tree is called a dawn redwood tree. It's a very sort of strange tree. It's not only is it very ancient, but it's a conifer that loses its leaves in the winter. And as you can see, it's just starting to come out now, and it will be loaded with leaves. Another interesting feature of this is here's a cone from this tree, which is closely related to the giant sequoia, but it has a very tiny cone, and the seeds are in between the scales of the cone. And what they do in the fall, the cone's open and the seeds fall to the ground. And as you can see, there's no little dawn redwood trees around here because it's very unlikely that that seed will make a tree. So one of the things that I like about Idlewild Park is it has a bunch of trees with beautiful flowers on it. This is a crabapple tree, and there are 5 of them in a row, one of which is the state champion crabapple. In April, around Arbor Day, they're blooming. And to me, they look very wonderful and help my day. So one of the 20 or so state champion trees in Idlewild Park is this fruiting cherry tree. It was planted in the 1950s, and believe it or not, every year it still has cherries. Cherry trees can be identified by these horizontal bandings that you see a little bit of Remember, there's a bunch of other bark, but it has horizontal bands, and that's indicative of cherry trees. And the tree has issues. I see some of the limbs are having problems, but it's an older tree. For a cherry tree, it's getting kind of old. But as I said, it still has cherries. So back around 2001 or so, a former urban forester planted this persimmon tree. He planted it as a seed from Indiana, and he grew it at the greenhouse for a couple years, and then he planted it. This is a male. There are male and female trees. Now, the interesting thing about this persimmon is this bark. It's got wonderful bark, and it's a way that you can determine it. This is the male. Behind us, hard to see, but the small tree behind us that's a female persimmon tree. And every year it has persimmons on it. They're not as big as the ones that you get at the store, but I've heard that they taste pretty good. And this side right there is really good bark.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on a little Arbor Day tree tour here in Idlewild Park. If you'd like to go on a tree walk of your own, we have this really nice Idlewild Park trees walking guide. That's a great resource if you'd like to go on your own tour and learn about some of the really awesome trees we have here in Idlewild Park.